Volta is an EV charging company that has seen its stock hit pretty hard this year. Today I'll be going over 5 reasons why this may be justified. And just as a disclaimer, this video is for informational purposes only and is not financial advice. So let's get into the 5 reasons making up the Volta bear case. The first of those reasons is that Volta's cash is running out. Let me show you how much cash they've had over time. You can see here that Volta's been burning through cash every single quarter. Back when Volta went public, they were able to raise about $400 million from the SPAC merger that went through in August last year. That cash has just been declining ever since then. You can see that in Q3 last year they had $331 million of cash, but now they're down to $105 million. If we take a look at how much cash Volta's been going through, it would appear as though they're going to be running out pretty soon. As a result of this, Volta's been trying to do a capital raise for a number of months now. If Volta is able to get this capital raise done, then they should be okay on their cash for a while. However, if they can't get it done, Volta will be in serious trouble. It's extremely important that they're able to raise money soon, or it'll be the end for Volta. Because this capital raise is not guaranteed, there's a very significant chance that Volta won't survive much longer. Now, the second reason is that Volta's operating expenses are pretty high at the moment. We can see most recently from their Q2 report that their operating expenses were at $60 million. This number is down from where it was in Q1, which was at $70 million, but it's still very high at the moment relative to Volta's scale at this time. This was all mostly driven by their selling general and administrative expense, which as of Q2 was at $44 million and 74% of their operating expenses. The third reason is that Volta still hasn't found a new CEO. Back in March this year, the founder and CEO of Volta, Scott Mercer, unexpectedly resigned from the company along with the president, Chris Wendell. There weren't a lot of details about why this happened. It could have been a number of reasons. Probably the worst case scenario is that Scott Mercer lost faith in Volta and decided to jump ship. This theory has been the more popular one given that they still haven't filled the role of CEO 6 months later now. Right now, Volta's on their second interim CEO, Vince Cubbage, who came from Tortoise Acquisition 2, the SPAC that merged with Volta. So he doesn't have a lot of experience in the EV charging industry. Looking at this article on Bloomberg, we see another theory for why the CEO shift happened. It says that Craig Irwin, a senior analyst with Roth Capital Partners, said Volta's board may have decided the company needs new leaders who can better sell investors on its potential. Volta's stock has been sledding for months now and has recently underperformed other charging companies including ChargePoint and EVgo. Then they've got a quote here from Craig Irwin. He says, "With the lack of success on this investor relations front, I'm not surprised the board is saying, hey guys, it's time for a new team." So this sounds like a plausible theory as well, but we still don't know the real reasons for why this happened, and we can only guess why Scott Mercer left the company. Volta said during their Q2 earnings call that they have a number of people who want to be CEO, but the best ones are waiting for Volta to fix some of their issues first. Those issues are mainly completing their capital raise and lowering their operating expenses. So that's what Volta says the situation is at the moment. Moving on, the fourth reason is that Volta is at risk of getting delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. At the beginning of the year, Volta's stock was trading over $7 per share. However, the price has significantly declined since then, bottoming out at $1.22 per share at the end of June this year. Today, the stock trades a bit over $2 per share, but of course it could go up or down from here. If the stock ends up falling further, it puts Volta at serious risk of being delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. The minimum price per share for a stock to continue being listed on the NYSE is $1 per share. If the stock closes below $1 for 30 consecutive trading days, then the New York Stock Exchange will initiate the delisting process. This would not be good for Volta since it would make it much harder for them to complete their capital raise and potentially raise more money in the future. And now the fifth and final reason is that Volta is seen as overvalued by many investors. If we look at some of the other EV charging stocks out there, we can see that Volta is actually one of the lowest valuations. ChargePoint is valued at $4.9 billion, Wallbox is valued at $1.4 billion, Blink is at $1 billion, EVgo is at $613 million, but Volta is all the way down at $350 million. They're significantly lower than all of these other charging companies. And if we take a look at their price to sales ratios, we see that ChargePoint is at 14.4, Wallbox's price to sales is at 12, EVgo is at 20, Blink is at 23, but Volta is all the way down at 8. So by the looks of it, it would seem that Volta is pretty undervalued when compared to all of these other charging companies. However, a lot of investors will argue that Volta is overvalued right now because they don't have a solid track record yet and probably won't be profitable for a while. Then of course there's all of these risks associated with the company, like the significant chance of going bankrupt if they can't complete their capital raise, and all the rest of the issues the company has at the moment. Once Volta does become profitable, it'll also probably be a while until their price to earnings ratio gets down closer to the overall market average, which is one other reason you could say Volta is overvalued today. So those are the 5 big reasons making up the Volta bear case. I'm interested in knowing what all of you watching think of Volta. Do you think the stock is overvalued, or do you think it's undervalued? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video.